Hiring? Look, every business needs great people and a better way to find them. Something better than posting your job online and just praying for the right people to see it. ZipRecruiter knew there was a smarter way, so they built a platform that finds the right job candidates for you. ZipRecruiter learns what you're looking for, identifies people with the right experience, and invites them to apply to your job. These invitations have revolutionized how you find your next hire. In fact, 80% of employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. And ZipRecruiter does not stop there. They even spotlight the strongest applications you receive, so you never miss a great match. The right candidates are out there. ZipRecruiter is how you find them. Businesses of all sizes can trust ZipRecruiter for their hiring needs. Right now, my listeners can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/Wingo. That's ZipRecruiter.com/Wingo. ZipRecruiter.com/Wingo. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Winning at sports and at sports broadcasting means changing things up.
Just like La Quinta Inns and Suites is changing up their look.
A renovated lobby that's so contemporary it even makes Golic look cool.
Yes, it does. And a totally updated fitness center that even has Wingo feeling like a workout.
I'm ripped. Plus plenty of comfortable spaces to hang out.
Yep, this La Quinta look definitely has a vibe of victory.
So you can just relax, refresh, and get ready for your next big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com.
Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. Presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Today, it's a little different. I mean, it's...
You're not Wingo.
Well,
who are you?
I'm the much... No, I'm not even... I was going to go with better looking.
You're almost as old.
Wow. That's this. We're not even a minute. So if your over-under was old jokes from Golic Jr. On a minute and a half, this is fair. The man that has... What am I, a sneaky vampire?
Sneaky vampire, yes. Yeah. Jason Fitz, former fiddle player and sneaky vampire.
Yeah, that's it.
That's fantastic. Trey gets to go on a little jaunt, to go on a little vacation. So I think we should rename the show Fitz in the Two Towers of Golic. I think that's
Fitz and the Two Towers of Golic.
Yeah, you guys,
did you put some thought into that?
Yeah, well, maybe a little bit. Yeah,
is that because Fitz and the Tantrums is already a band?
It is, and I don't get any royalties from that.
I put his name first on that.
I did. Yeah.
Oh, well, listen, you see, he named it like a band. Like, it's not just Fitz and the Golics the way that a sports talk radio person would name it. No. It's Fitz and the Towers. There's got to be some other descriptive word in there that only someone with the band experience that Jason has would toss in.
Is this what the rest of the week is going to be like?
You're in for a lot of it. Now, you flopped from the 6 o'clock at night to 6 o'clock in the morning. You've done the 12-hour flip, right? Yeah. From Spain and Fitz, you do in the evening to now 6 in the morning with Mike and I. So we appreciate you making that turn for us.
Well, it's worth it. You two are absolutely worth the lack of sleep.
Whatever. You're lying there. Yeah, and because we're going to get into how we did the Twitter live thing at our house for the Super Bowl, the first half and halftime, and how Jason Fitz absolutely ruined the Justin Timberlake halftime show for us.
You're welcome,
absolutely
America.
Ruined it for us. As Mike said, the fiddler with the band Perry. So you know that business, and you peeled back the onion, the layers of the onion a little bit there.
I did, by the way, just hear Mike say that if I don't bust out a fiddle, he's going to take the rest of the week off. Do you guys think that I just carry one around, like I just store it under my armpit?
Yes, more or less. Yeah, okay. We just kind of figure how that's kind of what life is for you at this point. Now that you're not doing it professionally, you need some sort of outlet, so it's always just there for you to fiddle on. If you ever find yourself on a roof, per se.
If I creepily just start pulling a fiddle out for the rest of we're good with that. That's
it will be completely expected, and you'll play, right, Forrest? You'll do that?
Yeah, sure.
Because I just what I asked you when you were over for the Super Bowl, I said, is a fiddle player have to know The Devil Went Down to Georgia like a guitar player has to know Stairway to Heaven?
Yes.
Is that kind of, you have to know that?
Yeah, and I'm not very good with lyrics to anything, so I don't really know, like, whenever you sit in with the band, they're like, ooh, let's do Devil Went Down to Georgia. Then they look at me and they're like, all right, sing it. I'm not the best with the whole lyric thing.
I know the words.
Well, good. Okay.
You play it, I'll sing it.
No, this is going to be a viral sensation.
See, and my question with all this is because this has got to be the expectation every time you've hopped on a mic since you've started into sports talk radio. And this is actually weird and kind of an identity question that because you were an NFL player for 9 years before you got into this, but 18 years later now, we've had instances where, people that have shadowed on this show didn't even know that you played football.
Didn't know I played.
Knew you in this vein. So I wonder how long it's going to take for you, Fitzy, before the expectation every time you come in the studio is, where's the fiddle?
I think the music community took about 3 minutes to forget about me, but ESPN will take far, far longer.
By the way, that guy that didn't know I played football, he lasted 1 day here. He's gone.
That's fair.
Yeah, we don't talk about him no more.
Now that we've given you all the fiddle takes you could ever want for the beginning of a show, let's get to some actual sports. It's time for Off the Top.
It's time for Off the Top.
Whether you like it or not,
it's just beginning.
With Golic and Wingo.
Yeah, that's right, Mike. I danced during Off the Top.
Oh, my
that's
gosh,
what I do.
You really did your chair dance.
The magic of radio.
You're welcome. The Cavaliers led the Magic by as many as 21 points, but they collapse in the second half, and they actually fall 116-98. Epic failure for Cleveland.
I don't even know where to go. I think I'm one of the last ones trying to hang on, being from Cleveland and, knowing what Cleveland fans went through all the years of me growing up, but finally getting the championship with LeBron and getting the Indians being so close, being in the World Series, and the normal January swoon for the Cavaliers. But, boy, this one really is starting to feel different here. Outscored 65-31 in the second half. Only scored 9 points in the fourth quarter. Ty Lue ends up in the locker room in the second half because he's sick. Maybe he's sick of what he's seeing on the court, even though the first half looked good for the Cavaliers in this one. It is just spiraling down the toilet.
Yeah, a lot of people thought Ty Lue was just getting taken out to pasture at halftime, and they were finally moving on there. But for the Cavs, they just are reinventing ways to be bad. LeBron James, no points or assists in the second half. Isaiah Thomas, no points in the second.
That was right. He had no rebounds and assists. There was a typo there. No rebounds. I fell for the same thing, but we figured we'd let you fall.
Thanks a lot, Stats and Info. I just sounded like an idiot for 2 hours.
Yeah, you did. That's no problem. Yeah.
What we do.
Oh, man.
That was my Isaiah Thomas impersonation, by the way. Throw everyone else under the bus after the game in a public setting.
He is doing a whole lot of talking, isn't he?
So here's the difference between Cleveland this year and years past. In years past, they haven't necessarily looked great, but we expect them to turn the switch. This year, they flat out look bad. That's a difference between what we saw last year before. We're used to LeBron can just always make things magical happen. When you've looked as bad as the Cavs have looked so often, I don't think you can just suddenly remember how to finish a game or remember how to actually play defense. And the amount of points that they're giving up night in and night out is disgusting.
It's ridiculous. They got Minnesota up next. I mean, and how much of this, a lot of people put a lot of it on effort. And if that's the case, then they should just all be so flat out embarrassed if we're not talking about X's O's as much as we're talking about actual effort on the court. Then, as I say all the time, you got to look long and hard in the mirror. But it doesn't seem like that matters to these guys.
I understand that in especially professional sports, not everyone's going to like each other, not everyone's going to be friends, but I am amazed in the NBA with how much smaller the locker rooms are comparatively, how reckless guys are in the way they talk. We've seen it with John Wall, who's currently injured, and what he said on SportsCenter the other night with Michael Smith talking about his team in his absence, and this continued Isaiah Thomas just being the go-to quote guy for Cleveland in all of this. It seems like this team genuinely, in a lot of instances, doesn't like each other in ways that manifest on the court. Like, they don't like playing basketball together.
You just wait till you leave. Don't keep the radio on. You have no idea what we're going to say about you the minute you're gone.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I mean, that's just what's going to happen.
Yeah,
that's fine. Once I'm gone, I don't tune into the show anyway. So.
Oh. Wow, that was awful. Speaking of awful.
Off the top.
The Thunder defeated the Warriors 125-105. An awful night for Golden State.
Warriors fell to 1-4 against the Rockets and Thunder this season. And by the way, the Rockets just one game behind Golden State in the West right now. This is the first time the Warriors never led in a game at home since Steve Kerr became the head coach in 2014. It's also the first time the Warriors never led in a game this season. There's only two teams left that have not suffered a wire-to-wire loss. That would be the Celtics and the 76ers. Warriors had 25 turnovers in this one. Draymond Green has his league-high 13th technical. So this is, for just handing them basically the title, and still they're going to be the heavy favorite going in and losing here to the Thunder. But I think most people really kind of look at the Rockets. Is that going to be the team that has the best shot to dethrone them, even though the Thunder just put it on them right now?
Yeah, it's the top-end performance, 5-2 against the top 5 teams in the league this year, are the Thunder, and them and the Rockets are giving people hope. I think they needed, considering the usual teams that challenge Golden State are down this year. Kawhi Leonard and the Spurs are really out of the picture. The Cavaliers we just talked about are in disarray, and so the teams that made the moves this offseason are seeing the return on their investment, which I think is good. In an NBA where we wondered, would this offseason shuffling do anything other than entertain us in that moment? The answer up until now has been yes. Our line is always, well, let's see it in the playoffs when you've got to beat them 4 times out of 7. But at least right now you can say if you're a team going forward that's thinking about making big wholesale changes in the interest of beating Golden State, right now it looks like that's at least a working theory that's coming true.
Now, I'm not willing to jump off the Golden State bandwagon the way I am Cleveland. I do think that there's a switch, obviously.
A little bit of a difference, yeah.
This is the one where we say, okay, they're going to figure that out before the finals come. But the interesting thing is that we're really looking at a Western Conference final that's going to be far more compelling than the actual NBA finals this year because the Western Conference is flat out stacked. It's just going to be a better watch.
They are, though. You wonder, the Celtics have given the Warriors a game, but you're sitting there with the Celtics and the Raptors with 16 losses and the Warriors and the Rockets with 13 losses. So I think I'm with you. If it ends up being the Warriors and Rockets playing for the right to get to the NBA Finals, I think that probably would turn out to be a better series than what we think the finals could be.
That Toronto team might finally be able to take a step forward. DeRozan and Lowry have been playing really well, albeit a little bit of a setback. I think they lost to the Sixers last night. But a team that's really deep, that's got 2 quality guys, that seems to be the medicine. You've got to have a way to be dynamic when your best lineup is off the court for a bit.
Speaking of the best,
off the top.
It was a tough night for the best player for the Knicks. Kristaps Porzingis, the NBA's leader in blocks, tore the ACL in his left knee after landing awkwardly on Giannis Antetokounmpo's foot after a dunk in the second quarter of a loss to Milwaukee.
Yeah, that's a tough call there for Knicks fans. And you want to do a quick correction on that? The Raptors won last night?
Yeah, no, the Raptors beat the Celtics by like 20 last night. I don't know what game. I was watching the Sixers before. They beat somebody.
Didn't really understand what jersey you were looking at.
There's a lot of NBA action last night. I was hooking it all to my veins.
Unfortunately for the Knicks, though, that as Jason mentioned, after a dunk coming down on Antetokounmpo's foot, tearing his ACL. They said there was some hope after the game because they saw him walking around a bit, but we've seen that. I know you have. I know I have. Mike, time and time again, a teammate or another player walking around after hurting the knee and thinking, okay, maybe it's not that bad. And with the ACL tear and you're done for the year. I mean, what does this do for a team? They were sitting in the 11th slot, 5 games out of the playoffs right now, but you have Porzingis, and that's who you're going to build around for the future, this young 7'3" superstar in the league. And now you got to be going, for a big man with a lower body injury, you never know how that goes down the road.
We just ran through this list of concerns with DeMarcus Cousins when he went down with the Achilles injury. For a guy that size, the historical comps coming back from that didn't work in his favor. And we know, looking back at other big stature-wise, I mean, Greg Oden was the case at the top of most people's lists for things like this. And now for the Knicks, you've got nowhere to go but down, right? You have to try and basically get out of this season with the best possible draft status possible, because winning at this point, we've talked about this in the past with the Knicks plenty of time, does you absolutely no good from here on out.
It's also going to affect the Knicks going into next year because Porzingis, when he comes back, whatever level of him that they get, they won't get him back until some way through next season. So it's not just a 1 year, it's a 2-year correction required in New York.
Off the top.
This is a special day for college football. It's National Signing Day. Georgia enters with the number 1 class in ESPN's recruiting rankings.
The biggest difference is nearly 3/4 of the big signings are done because they have the early signing period in December. So most of those players are already signed, though you still had, going into the week, 46 guys at the top that were still uncommitted. So we'll see where they end up, probably in Alabama. But quite honestly, though, a lot of the teams don't have a lot of room left. When 3/4 of the class is basically signed, there's not a ton of room left. But as you mentioned, Georgia, they have the top player who's the quarterback, and the quarterback is still going there after just what happened with Georgia, and the quarterback that came in Fromm was a true freshman, comes in for Eason, who's transferring to Washington. So Fromm's the quarterback, and the top quarterback in the country comes to Georgia. So, man, they're stacked there and looking good right now. Alabama, sitting at number 4 right now, entering National Signing Day. They signed the top 3 class every year between 2008 and 2017. Not a shock at all, but a big day. You know, I remember when you had yours, you did your signing on the show with Mike and Jake did the same thing, but a big day for you guys to finally make it official when you're going to go to your college.
There was a wonder how this early signing period would affect things. And to your point, the make it, take it league that the NCAA is for college football. But for this day now, I think what it'll morph into, because you're right, it used to be just that moment for everyone involved. Yep. And now that you split that up, what today really becomes, and what you read about the number of top players that waited till today, is this really will be that last ditch period where coaches and staffs are trying to court some of the top players, those guys that traditionally have taken longer to make those decisions, sometimes after signing day for guys in years past, are really going to be the focus of now. Is the bulk of your class is going to be put together in that first signing period for guys who would have been 3 stars like me, right, who want to make sure, all right, my commitment is sealed so that there's no funny business as they chase those 4 and 5 star guys late in the process.
And are we still faxing? Is that what we're still doing? It's not. We're not faxing anymore. Okay.
I talked to Jeff Collins, the Temple coach, when we were doing their bowl game. It was right around the initial signing period, and we asked them, the fax machine is officially out, I don't know who's still using them.
But it's been around. I mean, it didn't go away 10 years ago, right? It's been around, right? I mean,
yes,
the faxing it in. I was always amazed at that.
Now you can download an app on your phone.
There's got to be
works as a fax.
Signing day app. Yeah. This is what we do. Yeah, that's pretty wild.
So we'll end with the most confusing.
Off the top.
So the opening ceremonies aren't until Saturday, Friday, but the competition for the 23rd Olympic Winter Games starts today in Pyeongchang.
Yes, it does. Yeah, well, to fit everything in the time frame they need to start some of the competitions today. The first medal given out, I think, are going to be Saturday in Pyeongchang, but the as you mentioned, the opening ceremonies on Friday. Did I say it wrong?
Did I say it wrong? Pyeongchang. It's Pyeongchang.
Pyeongchang. I went the other way. I reversed it.
You went Wangchung. I don't fault you.
I'll just say Winter Olympics now and nothing more. But they have added 4 events. Do you guys see they added 4 events to this thing?
No.
4 new events. They are mixed doubles in curling.
Doubles?
Mixed doubles in curling. Men's and women's mass start. It's speed skating, a mass start in speed skating, team event alpine skiing, and men and women's big air in snowboarding. So 102 medal events in 15 sports. The U.S. team, by the way, is the largest athlete delegation for any nation in Winter Olympic history. So I love it. Can't wait to watch it all, from the biathlon to ski jumping to the luge to alpine to figure skating. I love it all. So I know you're into it as well, aren't you?
Has curling become the most talked about Winter Olympic sport now? Is it to the point where it was such a niche idea before, and now, especially coming off?
What bubble do you live under that curling would be bubble? What rock do you live under that curling would be more talked about than figure skating?
Well,
come on.
Curling has become very, very popular.
It's hot in the streets, man. And now, some of that is people lampooning the idea that curling is a sport, but talking to people who, during the trip to Minnesota for the Super Bowl, participated in some curling. Trey took part with some of the NFL Live guys in curling and said it is a difficult endeavor.
But it is Trey.
That is true. He's not a mathlete or an athlete, but somewhere in the midst of all that. But I'm interested, what does doubles look like? Because you said mixed doubles is now added, but that means there was regular doubles before. That means there was sex-specific doubles.
I'm with you.
What does that look like?
Can we work on maybe fielding a curling team in a few years?
I think we should give it a go.
I think this is our shot.
You bring up figure skating. Listen, I love watching figure skating, but it always comes under fire for the judging. Because a lot of these other things are, you have a definitive outcome by time of going down a hill or a luge or whatever. But, when you're looking for, it's like the gymnastics in the Summer Olympics. You're basing it on judges. It can get a little iffy.
The best part about sitting in this chair is sometimes I get to have the last word. So I'd leave off the top with this hot take. The Winter Olympics are better than the Summer Olympics. That is off the top.
Wow.
You're welcome, America.
Uh-huh.
Golic and Wingo, presented by 1-800-Flowers. This year, be the one who wins Valentine's with 1-800-Flowers.com. Right now, you can get 18 pink and red enchanted roses for only $29.99. To order, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. So we made it all the way through off the top.
Yes, we did.
And we didn't even say the word Patriots. we didn't say the word Colts, and we didn't say the word Josh McDaniels, which I think is a record. So now we can get to, obviously, the staggering news as Josh McDaniels, according to Colts' official Twitter account, was going to have his press conference today to be announced as the new head coach for the Colts. And then all of a sudden last night, bam, no, he's gone. This is a move to me that absolutely pins the Colts against the wall in a bad way. And it's actually quite an inspiring move for the Patriots in a world where we thought there was going to be a ton of change. Now it looks like, hey, guess what? There's at least one piece that's going to stay here, and it makes it feel like continuity is accomplished in New England.
I mean, there's so many tangents to this. I don't even know where to start, from why he turned it down to coaches that have already signed there to be on a staff that are going to stay there for the new coach, whoever that's going to be. But first and foremost, we have to try and figure out what was the reason. And you got Schefter saying basically, he was on your show last night, was he not?
Yes.
Adam Schefter, basically saying it wasn't about Andrew Luck's shoulder. It was just about his relationships in New England and his family in New England. Is that where he was going?
And I understand that. It looks like the immediate reporting from Schefter was that it was more about he just didn't feel comfortable and he was going back and forth. But do any of us really buy that? If you are 100% on board with Andrew Luck as his shoulder's healthy, this team, you've got a premier quarterback, do you really walk away from that job?
I mean, I don't know where to go with this, from Luck's shoulder to, is it he didn't want to move the family again? His wife, they have 4 kids, he's in Denver and then St. Louis and then been here in New England since 2012. He got a sweetened deal, but there's no way it's as much money as he would have got as a head coach. Is there a promise that when Bill retires, he's going to be the coach? I mean, there's a lot of things to look at with this.
There are a lot of things, and I struggle weighing between the two options of, is this more about, because the shoulder is the first thing I went to. That Josh McDaniels knows something that the rest of us don't about Andrew Luck's shoulder. Mort reported on Sunday there are doctors that think he may need another surgery on that shoulder. And so there's that side of it, and there's weighing, is that enough to disincentivize you from going to a place where if Andrew Luck is healthy, you've at least got the quarterback of your future planned out there for the time being, whereas now in New England, what's the advantage here? You come back with all that familiarity, but most people think the way they have for the majority of the season that Bill Belichick is not long for this world based on the strife and turmoil that we've seen. So has he been promised he's the coach in waiting? Right. Does that moment come sooner than later? Do we read more into the stuff going on with Tom Brady and Malcolm Butler as signs that Bill Belichick is slowly losing grip in a way that would be advantageous for Josh McDaniels to stick around? Because how good is that job when Bill and Tom are gone? Because that moment's coming sooner than later there. So all of these things I think are too closely intertwined to separate and say one way is more than the other, but there are definitely enough tangents to go on to fill a 4-hour radio show.
The Colts don't care about any of that, do they?
No, I mean, ultimately the Colts are sitting there trying to figure out what to do next.
Yeah. Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030. Mike Golic here. ADT, the #1 security company, can now help keep you safe at home and when you're on the go. Get started with the ADT Starter Kit professionally installed for only $49. Plus, you'll get ADT Go, the new family mobile safety app and service with 24/7 emergency response for free with any ADT security system. Go to ADT.com/podcast to learn more today.
Requires 36-month monitoring contract, QSP and Easy Pay. Activation and early termination fees may apply. Certain markets excluded. Licenses available at ADT.com. Additional charge for ADT Go premium services after March 31st, 2018.
There are 2 Golics, no Wingo today, though. I'm Jason Fitz in for Trey. Devil went down to Georgia.
And Jason Fitz will be playing that in our studio. We're just going to use you like a prop to do that.
That's going to happen.
You probably hate it.
No.
How long did you play in the band, Perry? How many years?
I toured with them for like 5 or 6 years.
6 years, and so you make the transition into this. So you want to separate yourself from music now, so you hate when we do this, don't you?
No, I will say when I first started working for ESPN, I was very, I wanted to separate the two because I wanted people to understand that I'm not just a fiddle player, that I deserve to be here. There was that hey,
you're not just a pretty face.
Right, exactly. And then I got comfortable and I said, forget it. As long as people are talking about me, I don't really care.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Whatever it takes. I will serenade you with fiddle or violin music all day long, Mike. Whatever it takes to stay in this seat.
Figured out the content was content.
There you go. Exactly right.
Exactly. I'm just saying, Trey's out on vacation and, I'm in the chair, and is he going to serenade you with, flowers and classical music? Because I will.
You will, and we're gonna get to know you a little bit better for our audience. We did a segment when Trey started on the show called Try Trey to get to know Trey a little better. We're gonna do it with you as well, and I've already gotten to know you a little bit. Now for those that may not know, you guys have a history of this. You worked on a college football show together during college football season. What was it, 2 seasons ago? It ran for a year. That's where you two first met?
Yes. That was back in the day already. You've seen us probably gallivanting around my living room on Twitter.
Yeah, the college football playoff rankings reaction show.
Yes, very
longest name in
wordy
history.
name.
Really does.
Wordy name. We really need to do a better job
so
with that.
We're going to get to know you a little bit later as well, but we got a little situation here to get to
right.
To know.
So the Colts are trying to figure out how they're going to get to know a new head coach, and Josh McDaniels decides not to take this job, which puts the Colts behind the 8 ball in trying to figure out sort of where to go here and what to do next. They already had a couple of coaches under contract. Those guys are going to stay. So now they're picking from a limited pool of coaches because many guys have already taken jobs. In fact, everybody that they interviewed for this job initially has accepted another job somewhere else. So they're picking from a limited new pool, and they're doing it behind the 8 ball with the combine just a couple of weeks away.
I can't even fathom between a rock and a hard place they're in right now. They're going to get in this former assistant coach, or be an assistant coach who's going to be a first-time head coach, unless they want to go grab somebody who hasn't coached in a while that nobody really thought of to kind of fill the void for now. That's the thing. The coach they hire now, is this going to be the coach for the next 5 years, or are you in scramble mode that says, we need to get somebody in there, kind of right the ship, and then we'll look into this in another year? I have no idea.
Yeah, this screams veteran coordinator or veteran assistant coach who's been around long enough and can just plug the gap for 1 year, who's going to be able to come in and work with someone else's groceries. Because, again, you've got your D coordinator and D line coach under contract. For all the talk about Josh McDaniels being unsure throughout this process, he was sure enough to convince 2 guys to sign on the dotted line for that organization. So that seems pretty damn sure to me.
Well, we're trying to figure out what it all means. Greg Doyle, who writes for the Indy Star, is thrilled with that McDaniels backed out. This is what he said.
Well, he's a loser. The Colts didn't know it. Sometimes you get lucky in spite of yourselves. You might, foul a ball off your foot, but it bounces over the second base and you get a double out of it. I don't know how the Colts got lucky, but they did. They are not stuck with the infection that we're going to call Josh McDaniels. They're not stuck with him. He can replace Belichick. And without Belichick someday, without Brady someday, he can go 3-13 there, and we can all have the last laugh here in Indiana. We avoided Josh McDaniels. I was going to have to deal with that sick little punk for the next 3 or 4 years, or until he got fired in the middle of year 2, like in Denver. I was going to have to deal with him on a daily basis, and it was going to make me sick to go to Colts Complex and look at that smug little jerk in the face. Now I don't have to deal with it. I think it's great. I'm happy.
I wonder if, and I don't know this, if Greg Doyle, when it was basically a done deal the last few weeks, was Doyle saying this? Was he this adamant against Josh McDaniels when we all knew Josh McDaniels was going to be offered that? I don't know that for a fact. I have no idea.
Well, he was on with Will Kane yesterday before all of this dropped, saying that it's a terrible hire and he didn't like it. I want to know, Greg, did Josh hurt you? What, do you need a hug, buddy? What happened there?
This is a good salt of the earth Midwesterner rebelling against the Northeast, because you heard it. He laid into the Patriots too and said the Northeast, they're jerks and losers and they don't know how to win with class. There's felt like a lot of regional bias built into this as well.
There's a tweet from our own Diana Rossini, who says she spoke with several members of what was supposed to be Josh McDaniels' Indy coaching staff. They have not heard from Josh McDaniels regarding the change of heart, so they're just as blindsided as the rest of us. And we know there are 2. Was it Matt Eberflus was with the Cowboys, and Mike Fair, who was with Illinois as a D-line coach? They're the ones that signed, and they're staying. They're going to be on that coaching staff, whoever the new coach is, because they signed those contracts. But man, I still don't know which way to go here. From is it a Luck shoulder? Is it he got that his deal sweetened, but there's no way they're paying him what a head coach is going to make. There's no way he's making $5-6 million to be the offensive coordinator. At least I don't think so. So is it, hey, Bill's only going to be here maybe another couple of years. You're going to be the next guy, and does 1 or 2 years turn into more? And then you got a guy saying, well, I'm not going to sit around. I don't know if that usually works out the way you want it to, but boy, he seems to have gotten some assurances of something.
Think about the ripple effect if you are considering hiring Josh McDaniels ever again for a job. And if you're considering joining his staff ever again for a job, because there will have to be some level of hesitance, right? From a team, or from, if you're an assistant coach and Josh calls and says, hey, why don't you come join my staff? I saw what you did to the last group of guys. I mean, that has to be part, he has to have an assurance, because how does he build anywhere outside of that building ever again?
Well, it's like looking and saying, well, you know, you're with someone who just cheated on their spouse, and so you assume they're not going to cheat on you now. No, you've seen his past history here. You know Josh McDaniels' MO now with all of this. So to your point, it's difficult, especially in the coaching ranks. Forget what an organization may think, because most organizations, I think, if you're good enough at what you do, are willing to look past things like this. We see it happen enough with players where guys have character issues or things that pop up that would be red flags, where if you're good enough, it doesn't really matter. But other coaches, now that you've stabbed guys like that in the back, because even, we see that from Diana. Josina Anderson put up a tweet that Josh McDaniels, she's heard from sources, Josh McDaniels spoke to every one of his assistants after he talked to the Colts. So wherever in the timeline that took place, because if it's after, that's still pretty late in the game to find out in all of this. Considering the Colts found out late enough to where they had that awkward tweet promoting the press conferences up hours after this had happened. You look at this situation, you say, how is a coach going to trust Josh McDaniels again when he goes to build a staff?
So again, you had the report from Diana saying that those coaches did know. Josina saying that Josh did talk to those coaches. So obviously it's
an hour after Diana tweeted that. So
exactly. So I guess my thought too is, now, as I said all the time about players and about coaches, everybody has their reasons, and every reason is different. We're not there, so we don't know. As I said with a player at times, is it money? Is it geography? Is it going for a ring? What's your reason? Where are you in your career? If it's a coach, can you be a head coach? Where would you be the head coach? Family situations. He has 4 kids, he and the wife, and 4 kids. Did he not want to move? Does he like where he is right now? Was that going to be an issue? That stuff we don't know. But the bottom line is, a lot of people think, well, okay, they sweeten the deal, but it's certainly not going to be what a head coach would make. So is it going to be, you're going to be the coach when Bill leaves? Well, then you start to think, okay, when Bill leaves, that means Bill's gone and Brady's only going to be there another, I got to believe, year or 2 tops. So, man, where you may be comfortable there, but that team certainly isn't going to be what it is right now when those 2 are gone and you're the head coach. But then again, as I said, you may just say, I'm comfortable here. If I'm going to be the head coach here, that means stability for me and my family for already since 2012 and maybe a lot more years to come. Maybe that was important to him.
You're listening to Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Mike, I understand that you can turn down a job for a lot of reasons, and it's okay. But you can't turn down a job this way for a lot of reasons and have it be okay. You can't let it get to the point that the team is out there tweeting, hey, here's the introductory press conference. You can't let it get to the point that everybody's agreed to terms and then change your mind and have it still feel okay. If there was this level of hesitance, the team should have known about it. It never should have been announced. To let it get to this point is, I think, the moment you can't walk it back from. And I also think there's a ripple effect to this for other teams in the future. If you're ever looking at a head coach of a Super Bowl team, you have to look at this as the potential negative if you can't get something worked out in a way that it's a done deal early in the process. Because if you're betting on a coordinator from a Super Bowl caliber team, you can get stuck like this with no coach and no option. That's a terrible spot for a franchise to be in, not just right now, but for the next 2, 3, 4 years.
It is. And when you couple all of that with the uncertainty that drives some of this decision making surrounding their star quarterback, surrounding the decisions they got to make going forward, this can set a franchise like the Colts back years if Andrew Luck's shoulder truly isn't in the place it needs to be, and you don't even have that to hang your hat on and sell going forward.
And at some point, I imagine we'll know And maybe we'll start to learn more about the Malcolm Butler, which we even got more info on that. And look at how quickly that got pushed to the side now, with what's going on with Josh McDaniels. But there's that to talk about. I mean, there are so many things of a percentage. Is it anything to do with Andrew Luck's shoulder? Should there be any concern on Indianapolis Colts fans that say, okay, we didn't get that as a coach, but why? Is there something wrong with Andrew Luck? What's going on there? Is Josh going to be the new coach in New England whenever Belichick is done? There's a lot of things out there. The bottom line is we thought he had a job and he left. We put it on at Golic and Wingo. We put the question up there. What's the job you left the quickest and why? So if you took a job and you left it quickly, how quick did you leave it and why did you leave it that quickly? So that's the question up there, so we look forward to your answers to that one.
Winning at sports and at sports broadcasting means changing things up.
Just like La Quinta Inns and Suites is changing up their look.
A renovated lobby that's so contemporary it even makes Golic look cool.
Yes, it does. And a totally updated fitness center that even has Wingo feeling like a workout.
I'm ripped. Plus plenty of comfortable spaces to hang out.
Yep, this La Quinta look definitely has a vibe of victory.
So you can just relax, refresh, and get ready for your next big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com.
We've been having all sorts of straight talk this morning about the NFL drama, but the NBA will not be outdone in the drama category ever. And at this point, the Cavs are just broken. And we're getting used to them losing, but we're also getting used to constant chaos after every loss. We've reached the point. Isaiah Thomas comes out after the loss last night and has some sort of harsh words about the way the team is coming together. I almost feel like guys are trying to get traded at this point. Everybody wants off this ship because it is sinking at an alarming rate. The wheels have fallen off of the Cavs, and I don't see how they get put back on.
I'm amazed at what's going on here, and you alluded to it with Isaiah Thomas. This is what he had to say after the game.
As players, we gotta do better. I mean, when they start to go on their runs, which teams is gonna do each and every game, we gotta come together. And it's like right now, when we hit adversity, we go our separate ways, and that's just how I feel, and it looks like that as well. And guys start to go one-on-one offense, and then defense is every man for itself.
There are those that would say they like hearing the truth from Isaiah Thomas if that's what's happening, but there are others that are like, I heard you this morning. And as former players, again, different sport, doesn't matter if you're a former player in a locker room, what you want to go out publicly and what you want to stay in the locker room.
Yeah, this just seems suspect for me, and people are going to say that someone needs to say it because the Cavs are clearly devoid of a lot of leadership right now, at least what we're seeing outwardly. But leadership to me isn't pointing the finger at everyone in the public setting after all these games. We heard them have what appear to be a fruitless conversation behind closed doors where maybe this didn't come to fruition, so maybe it's a desperation heave. But even then, true leadership usually acknowledges its own place in these problems, where with Isaiah, it's constantly been, well, we were bad on defense before this. Yeah, I called Kevin Love out. All these different things that never really thumb point. It's all finger pointing.
Don't you have to read the room at some point, too, and sort of accept that you're the new guy in this situation that's not necessarily being received or playing at the level people wanted? So to come in and be like, hey, everybody's just falling apart, this whole thing is broken, that seems alarming to me when you're not the voice of that locker room yet. And frankly, you haven't earned the opportunity to be the voice of that locker room. That takes time.
It does take time, but to your point earlier, about that's what I want to know, the thought process of the guys in that room. And we're not going to know that fully what's going on there. But for the fact for LeBron, in a game that they're winning at halftime, 67-51, and for the second half, LeBron to have no rebounds and no assists. No rebounds and no assists. First time since 2016. I find that somewhat amazing to have that fall apart like that, a turnaround of 39 points, to be up 21 and lose by 18. And everybody sits there and points to it as a lot of it is effort. And Mike, you know this. I mean, that's the most damning thing to an athlete. The most damning thing, if you look at that team or that person, you say, you know what? They're not trying. They're just not trying hard enough. They just don't look like they give a damn out there. That's about as bad as you can be talked about as an athlete, because that's the one thing, no matter what your skill level is, you can control your effort. And if you look like, and everybody's saying, and even the guys on the team are kind of leading you along to that is, I just can't fathom that thought process and that feeling like that.
Well, it's a team full of guys all doing that too. It's not just one guy that's dragging it down.
Right.
It's everybody on that team. The Bad Body Language Award for the all-time going to the entire Cavaliers roster right now. And you just wonder where it ends. You wonder, we've heard so much of this pointed at LeBron, who said he's not waiving his no-trade clause, seems to be there for the long haul, but there seems to be some growing friction between LeBron and everybody else in all of this that I don't know if it gets resolved. And I don't know if it's one of those things where anyone on either side is right.
Now that is some Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. There's not an easy solution for Cleveland. No. It's not about getting a guy. It's not, you can't fix whatever is wrong in that locker room.
Yeah, trade deadline's not going to do a thing for them at all. This is going to be about players stepping up and being accountable for what they're doing on the court.
And when it's this broken emotionally, I'm not sure it easily gets fixed. Yep. Coming up, more trouble brewing in New England, plus a Hall of Famer continues to make the same mistake. Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
Hello, I'd like to deposit this to checking.
Fate is a fickle master.
What?
The future is uncertain.
Okay, and what's my account balance?
The horizon is cloudy. I see a long, treacherous voyage filled with great peril.
Look, can I just get a deposit slip or something?
A Fortune bank teller. Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
I see a yellow-eyed serpent and a low APR.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Hiring? Look, every business needs great people and a better way to find them. Something better than posting your job online and just praying for the right people to see it. ZipRecruiter knew there was a smarter way, so they built a platform that finds the right job candidates for you. ZipRecruiter learns what you're looking for, identifies people with the right experience, and invites them to apply to your job. These invitations have revolutionized how you find your next hire. In fact, 80% of employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. And ZipRecruiter does not stop there. They even spotlight the strongest applications you receive, so you never miss a great match. The right candidates are out there. ZipRecruiter is how you find them. Businesses of all sizes can trust ZipRecruiter for their hiring needs. Right now, my listeners can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/Wingo. That's ZipRecruiter.com/Wingo. ZipRecruiter.com/Wingo. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Winning at sports and at sports broadcasting means changing things up.
Just like La Quinta Inns and Suites is changing up their look.
A renovated lobby that's so contemporary it even makes Golic look cool.
Yes, it does. And a totally updated fitness center that even has Wingo feeling like a workout.
I'm ripped. Plus plenty of comfortable spaces to hang out.
Yep, this La Quinta look definitely has a vibe of victory.
So you can just relax, refresh, and get ready for your next big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com.
We've got some Golic here, but there is no Wingo. Trey gets a few days off and gets to hang out, and they are letting me sit in the big boy chair. I'm Jason Fitz hanging out.
Can you tell people why that song was?
Yeah, so I played for the band Perry for many years, so I have not played that song in about a year and a half. But yeah, I will. You didn't ask for this quick story, but I will tell you that.
No, say it.
When I I wasn't touring with the Perrys yet, and they were opening for somebody else I was at a show, and I went out to the front of house, and I was like, that was the only song I'd ever heard, and I said, I'm gonna watch this. This is gonna be terrible because I just didn't like that song, and I heard that. I went out and I watched it, and frankly, they like Kimberly particularly was so dynamic. I looked at it, I was like, that gig is gonna blow up. And I mean, you just watched it and you knew at that point that gig was going to blow up. So when they called like a month later and said, "Hey, we're making some changes in the band. Would you like to come out and see if it's a good fit?" I was immediately on board. So that song was the reason I sort of mocked it. And then every time I played it,
you thought the song was going to be bad.
Yeah,
Did you ever tell them that after?
Oh yeah. I told them that because it was that song. It was so much different than most of their stuff that. But it was sort of what it is in country radio. Sometimes you put out kind of the fluffy single to lead to the If I Die Young was the next single for them, and that turned out to be one of the top 5 selling songs of all time in country music.
Again, so Jason Fitz played the fiddle for the band Perry, and we're gonna get to know him in a little bit, and you're gonna get to know him, and it's an incredible background and life that he had before jumping into sports here. It's very, very cool. So we're going to have some fun with that for sure.
But first we need to get you caught up on everything going on in, I don't know, sports. So a little bit of what's trending. Oh, good little.
Like that, huh?
The button push there.
See,
was
there
staggering.
you go. Yeah.
Kristaps Porzingis, the NBA leader in blocks, tore the ACL in his left knee after landing awkwardly on Giannis Antetokounmpo's foot after a dunk in the second quarter of a loss to Milwaukee.
I mean, I don't even know where to go. I know Stanzik is Mr. Knick fan over there is just, he's at a loss. Here was a team that, you finally set your direction. Carmelo Anthony's gone. Kristaps Porzingis is the 7'3" new player of the, this is the NBA now, that big guy that can shoot away from the basket, play away from the basket. He is there, and they're going to build around this guy. And now a large player with a lower body injury is just almost a death knell at times to come back from.
I think Stanzik and Knicks fans have to just sort of resign themselves to the fact that you're not supposed to be happy. There's not supposed to be good things that happen to you in life. You're not supposed to experience joy. You're not supposed to know what winning at a high level looks like in the NBA. You're just supposed to be miserable so that the rest of us can be entertained. That's all this proves. You wish the best for Kristaps, who is another victim of the LeBron James cursed all-star team and all of this, and you hope he can come back and continue to have his stellar career. But at this point, what other conclusion can you draw if you're a Knicks fan other than the fact that you're just not supposed to be happy?
You mentioned the curse, and Porzingis, DeMarcus Cousins, Kevin Love, John Wall, all injured, 2 missing a full season, 2 missing 6 to 8 weeks. Substantial injuries, all on Team LeBron. So it's the modern Madden curse.
How about it? But boy, the Knicks, I mean, in all seriousness, man, I mean, that's at least a 10-month injury to get back, and then to get back to where you were again. I mean, where this team goes in their building, and now, put the brakes on before we get going again, but still you have to have the thought process of how we're going to be in the next 2 years to try and build on from this, all depending on how he is.
All going to cost also Porzingis some money because, in theory, next year's the last year of his deal. If he's not on the All-NBA team or Defensive Player of the Year, he can max out at 25% of the salary cap instead of 30%. So this injury and the timing of it's going to cost him some cash next year too. So worst case scenario for the Knicks all over the place. Do I hit the little button again?
Yeah,
I'm just asking as we go. Watch this.
There you go.
I'm on button
like
fire.
Pro.
The LA Lakers were fined $50,000 by the NBA for another violation of the league's anti-tampering rule after team president Magic Johnson recently praised Milwaukee Bucks star Giannis Antetokounmpo.
I don't get it. Can you explain this one? What did he say about Antetokounmpo?
He said, quote, "I'm just happy he's starting in the All-Star game because he deserves that. And he's going to be like an MVP, a champion. This dude, he's going to put Milwaukee on the map. And I think he's going to bring them a championship one day."
Are we missing something? I mean, I know we got fined $500,000 for talking about Paul George and saying if I see him, I could say hi to him and that's about it or whatever. Are we missing something?
I think the problem is Magic has such a personality and platform. We want him to talk about NBA players, and we feel like it's the same as if Charles Barkley is talking about NBA players. But he is a front office guy. So I guess maybe it teeters the line of now Antetokounmpo knows that he's a fan, and maybe there's negotiation power from it. It's tough for me.
I'm stunned. To me, unless a basketball person can come on and explain to me the rationale for this, I think it's a joke. I think it's crazy.
And really, the Bucks look like snitches in all this, too, because they quoted Magic Johnson on their Instagram page and really highlighted his words in all this. So
was that double? They did it. They would be nice and saying, hey, be careful. Hey, league, look at what Magic is doing.
Yeah, no, look at all this nice promotion about our young player, but also, hey, Adam, dude over here looks like he's trying to move in on Bay.
I don't... Move it on Bay.
You can see it from across the room right now. Right? He's got eyes for your woman.
But I really don't. I truly don't get it. I truly don't understand how even an executive praises another guy, doesn't mention, boy, I can't wait till he's a free agent or any kind of, about how he'd fit on our team, and you're fined $50,000. I don't get. I truly don't understand that one.
We'll try and get some understanding at 9:00. Bobby Marks is going to join us. We'll see what Bobby has to say about it. Maybe he can give us a little bit of a insight on it. Our own NBA insider. We'll see what he thinks on it, and also. I'm on fire. The San Francisco Giants officially announced yesterday they will retire Barry Bonds number 25 and celebrate his career before their August 11th game against the Pirates at AT&T Park.
Gotta love the first 25 fans in attendance that night will get a number 25 cap in honor Bonds, who obviously wore that number during his 15 years in San Francisco. Listen, I think the guy should be in the Hall of Fame, so I'm certainly not going to have any kind of issue with this at all. I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. I think Roger Clemens should be in the Hall of Fame. As I said, if you want to put in something up in the Hall of Fame to talk about the era that it was in, I don't care. But these guys should be in the Hall of Fame, so this is an honor that I think he should get, and I'm glad the Giants are doing it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the fan reception, I think, around there because of what he meant to that franchise will be certainly warmer than maybe it has, because we continue to see this is about baseball purists pushing back against the continued turnover in the sport as younger fans do creep in, as younger voters creep in the Hall of Fame voting every year, who the steroid era players poll very highly with. So it's that constant tension between this, none of which I think will exist in this situation.
And again, it's not like the fans too, but the league moved on because Bonds was working in the league, working for teams. McGuire working in the league, so I mean they were working back in the league again. These are the writers, the voters, who are putting their stamp on this of their thought process. And I understand there are a bunch of people that agree with them. I certainly don't. So I think this is a great honor, and I'm glad the Giants are doing it.
100%. I don't think there's no easy way for baseball to just sort of erase an entire section of history that influenced an entire generation of fans. I mean, you can't just erase whatever the steroid era is, and because there's no clarity to exactly what that was and who was a part of it, who wasn't a part of it, there's no easy way to handle it. But you can't just pretend these guys didn't exist, especially if you're the Giants. Go for it all day, every day. Acknowledge your great player, acknowledge that moment, and let Giants fans celebrate it, in my mind. And we have more drama in New England. Malcolm Butler went to Instagram to tell everybody that what we're hearing is not true, that he was not part of any sort of inappropriate activities during Super Bowl week, but that he appreciates all that the Patriots have done for him. He went out basically saying, my name is clear.
Right.
What's key to that is that his Instagram post, this is so NBA Petty Wars, his Instagram post was liked by Tom Brady, which is seen as sort of a moment of support.
Well, and there was a comment too from Tom Brady that even said, nothing but love for you, Malcolm, great teammate, great friend, all these different things, outwardly praising him in a way that, to your point, is very NBA. We're used to that. It's par for the course. It is not very Patriot way, and that's what's jarring about this.
No, it's not. And one other current Patriot, even though it was on IR, Dante Hightower, showed support for Malcolm Butler as well. And you're right, that's usually a not very Patriot way. Here on Golic and Wingo, Jason Fitz in for Wingo. And what does this mean for the Patriots next season? Now What Wednesday is brought to you by Jared, the Gallery of Jewelry, turning feelings into jewelry. That's why he went to Jared. Listen, you read that whole thing from Malcolm Butler because we were all wondering, and all that was out there, did he miss curfew? Where was he hanging out? What was he doing? He spelled it out in there. I did none of that, nothing. And he said, it's actually hurtful to me and my family that would be talked about. He said, I saw my family every night. I did nothing else. You start to hear report, and he self-admittedly did not have a great year playing. And then now the other things you're hearing is the captains knew that he was going to be less a part of this defense in this game, supposedly. And then you heard reports he wasn't picking things up of this Eagle offense, which I have a tough time buying because this guy played 98% of the snaps. He's seen everything out there. So there's part of the report that I just kind of scoff at. But if he wasn't playing well and people knew because Rowe, who started for him, was bigger and these are bigger receivers, that he was going to be less a part of this defense, I could see that a bit. But man, not playing a snap on the defensive side of the ball really makes you kind of think, boy, is there more to this thing? Maybe there isn't more to this thing. Maybe it is the fact that he just didn't have a great year and they didn't think he would be very good on this in this defense against his team. That's still a tough one for me to swallow, though.
If his Instagram post was very well written, but it wasn't clear enough on what he did do, that would be the one thing I would say. He came out and said, none of what you're hearing is true. But he never acknowledges what was the reason then. In his mind, there must be a reason he was benched. And I don't know isn't good enough. There's a point where you've got to know at this point, hey, they benched me because I didn't practice well. They benched me because I wasn't playing well. He doesn't say any of that. He leaves that just vague enough that we don't know where it's going. Now, the other side of it, though, to Mike's point, is that Patriot way, whatever the Patriot way is, Tom Brady seems to be completely out on it now. I mean, he's got his own Facebook show. He's doing his own like docu-series. He's out commenting on this. Like, I don't know that you can rebottle up whatever Patriot way is. I think that's the most staggering part of what we're seeing in New England right now is that it's not just it feels like there's chaos. It feels like whatever we expect from New England no longer exists. I don't know that can be rebottled.
Well, it's the kind of instability that breeds a situation like what we've seen with Josh McDaniels now. If you continue to weigh all of the little parts of this that add up into why Josh McDaniels would stay in New England versus want to go to Indianapolis, I think you have to factor part of this in there that we've seen a shift in the power dynamic in New England that would not only say, hey, Josh, we want you to stick around because we think you can be the next guy, which is interesting enough that they're planning on that level, which shows you where more of the importance is because you had the chance to do that with a quarterback in your franchise, and you chose not to because you valued that one quarterback over everyone else, signaling to us and signaling to Seth Wickersham that there appeared to be a change in this power dynamic. Now you're saying, hey, we want this coordinator so bad, we're going to rip him away at the midnight hour from this deal he was ready to sign because we would like to, in theory, have him as the succession plan if you buy into that model of thinking for our head coach. All of that indicates to Bill Belichick that maybe I don't have the power I once did, and this Instagram post and these constant little reminders that the power and the stranglehold you thought you had on this organization are gone, all kind of feed into that mindset.
This used to be, or always seemed to be, a team that when darts were thrown their way, they all hunkered in together and say, this is the Bill Belichick way, and we're together, and nothing gets out of this locker room, to now, with the power struggle that Seth Wickersham had brought up, to the Instagram, we're seeing Brady come out and back his teammate off of a decision that Bill Belichick made. I mean, it really, you start to think and go, wow, it's for the first time, are we seeing on the outside? Now, there's always stuff on the inside, no matter how successful you are. I heard somebody talking about it yesterday saying, I guarantee you there's players playing on the team that can't stand being there. They can't stand the situation. And that's absolutely right.
Oh,
I mean, that's true everywhere.
You
right?
talk to guys that have been there, and it's a culture of silence that existed for a long time because of fear, not because always guys were more than happy to comply with this, because you knew that Bill Belichick could flex in situations like this, that if you didn't comply with what the organization wanted, they would just cut you, let alone not play you.
Right.
But it feels like we're in the middle of an uprising. That's the difference. It feels like there's some sort of a swell, and for the first time ever, the Patriots and Belichick can't just put a cap on all of it. Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2, and it's rivalry week in college basketball. We have Duke UNC on ESPN tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern. North Carolina head coach Roy Williams will join us in 15 minutes, but now it's time for Try Jason.
We're going to try Jason. We're going to get to know Jason a little bit. The staff has compiled questions, and our man Jerry voiced them. So let's you got him there.
They're trusting me with a lot of buttons. I don't know.
They really are. So let's try Jason.
What musicians did you look up to as a child that led you to pursue music as a career?
That was spectacularly done. Okay, so my first ever concert was Bon Jovi Skid Row. And I remember at the time I was a classical musician, and I went to this concert. I was like 10, 11 years old, and it was in Maine. And Bon Jovi came out, and I found out later they're called toasters. They're things under the stage that pop you up and you land. And Richie Sambora landed on the edge of the stage like he looked like he'd flown, smoke going everywhere, trench coat, playing the opening song of the show. And I looked out and I said, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. So Richie Sambora was like a life-changing guy for me because that was the moment that I realized that classical music was not fun and that touring looked like it would be. So Richie gets and then a few years ago, I was taking a red eye from in LAX, and I was just being a grouchy, and the security lines were all messed up. I hadn't slept in 2 days, and I throw my stuff down, and I'm all angry, throw it down in airport security, and I realized I hit the edge of somebody's bag, so I turn around to like say I'm sorry. Richie Sambora standing next to me.
Really?
I stopped him in the middle of LAX, and we talked for like 10, 15 minutes. The nicest guy. Then we tweeted back and forth for a little while. That was like the
That's
ultimate.
A cool story.
Yeah. So
did you tell him that story?
Yeah. I told him. I told Richie the whole reason I ever toured as a musician was because of Richie Sambora.
All right, good start. Like that.
All right, that's good. We're going to the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. We're moving along.
All right, here we go.
What was the worst part of watching the Super Bowl at the Golics?
Oh, sitting next to Golic Jr., obviously. I mean, sitting next to Golic Jr., no, actually, the worst part was the coma after the cake.
Yeah.
My God. There was that cake. What was that cake?
My wife, My wife made this cake that was just ungodly sugar-filled. With Oreo cookies and frosting and
a diabetes garnish.
Yeah, it was, but it was so good.
Oh, but you watched
it dropped everybody.
If you watch the replay on it, Golic Jr. was sitting upright in his chair after the cake. Every time it shot back to him, he was further and further slid down. He was in straight nap time.
I thought the best line of the night, I didn't know if you would get aggravated by it again, because you're a classical music guy, was when Mike Periano, the Perianos, our friends, were there, and Mike Periano asked you, hey, with your fiddle, did you play a lot of square dances?
He did ask me if I did a lot of square dances.
Talk about getting typecast.
Yeah. And I tried to play it off a few times where I was like, no. And he's like, well, I just know country music.
Yeah.
Country. It just kept drilling on the square dancing. So then I finally did. I finally did.
I think this next question will let us know you did a little bit more than that.
Do you have any stories from Juilliard reminiscent of the movie Whiplash? And in your time there, were you more often Russian or dragging?
Wow. So when you're a classical violinist, you always play ahead of the beat. So I was always Russian to the Russian or dragon joke. Yes, the movie Whiplash, very accurate. I remember I had one teacher at Juilliard when I was a kid, Peter Malevsky, and spoke a bunch of, he just spoke mostly Russian when he got really frustrated with you, and he would just pick up whatever was on his desk and throw it if he got angry. So
really?
Like snow globes come hurling across. And when I was a little kid, and I started there, because I started at Juilliard when I was 10, when I was a little kid, the doors are very, very, very heavy at the school, so I couldn't get them open. I'm not a big guy now. I was particularly not strong then. Couldn't get the doors open. So he would always have to come out and help push the door open for me, and then he would mumble in very disapproving Russian the entire time.
You were 10
yes.
when you were Juilliard?
Yeah.
Classical violin?
Yeah, when I started there, yeah. I was,
what were you doing at 10, Mike?
Classically eating?
Yeah.
Yeah, but look at where it's gotten you. Yeah. I mean, look at where it's gotten you.
Part of the job for a while, very short while.
Unbelievable. Wow, that's good.
Sort of the running joke when people are like, how do you get to ESPN? I'm like, well, you just go to Juilliard and see what happens.
Who is the biggest star you got to meet during your time as a musician?
Tough question, because for me, it was Richie Sambora, right? I said that earlier, but we had the opportunity. I think the luckiest part for the band is that If I Die Young crossed over. So we were able to do all of the Billboard Awards and American Music Awards and all those guys. And so I've got a buddy that's a drummer for Bruno. So I've been able to, meet him. And I actually went to high school with one of the guys in NSYNC. So I sort of grew up going to NSYNC, before I'd ever achieved any level of success, I went to a bunch of NSYNC shows.
So tell us which one.
JC.
Really?
Yeah. Shout out to JC, by the way. He's a big ESPN fan. So
there you go.
He might be watching. He might be watching.
Call in.
Yeah.
I like that.
Call in. Also a big NBA fan. So I guess, depending on who you – but I will never forget Nicki Minaj at a Grammy show was running – and it was live TV, and she was running late getting to the side of the stage, and they were doing makeup on her, and I was standing there, and they kept yelling. They're like, Nicki, we got to go. We're live. Nicki looked over and said, live TV will wait for Nicki Minaj. That's my
Nicki.
That is great. She's not wrong.
Let's do another one.
What's the coolest instrument to play in a band? What's the least cool instrument? And where does your fiddle rank? Hit him with the fiddle, boy.
Fiddle ranks very near the bottom. I mean, very near the bottom. Coolest to me is the drummer. And the funny thing is, that's always when I walk around and people say, oh, are you the drummer? That's when I feel like I've really made it. So the drummer, by far the coolest. Least cool has got to be the banjo, right? Banjo is not,
really?
Banjo's not cool.
Really?
Banjo. And most, to me, most of your guys that you see on country tours that are playing banjo are actually playing what's called a ganjo. So it's a guitar. It's strung just like an acoustic guitar. It's just made to sound like a banjo. So they're not even really playing the banjo. They're playing the ganjo.
So are they the ones that you look at in judgment the way Dad or I would have looked at specialists back in the day? The kickers and punters that are over on their separate field just being weirdos, not doing any real football?
Who is that in the band?
Probably the fiddle player usually. We're kind of the punters of country music. Yeah, really? I'm not going to deny that.
Real quick, we got a lot of questions. We'll get to them. What's the hardest instrument to play?
Violin, by far. There's no help on a violin. This much is the difference between, for radio, yeah. A centimeter is the difference between accurate and not accurate on a violin. That's why.
Because you said there's no frets.
Right, no frets. So I was practicing 8 hours a day by the time I was 8 years old.
That's unbelievable.
You have to.
And I don't want to say any of it's easy because you got to put time into it, but relative to how we're answering this easiest instrument.
Acoustic guitar. Like, think about every songwriter you ever see out of Nashville has got an acoustic guitar in their hand because they learn like 4 chords and they can play acoustic. And acoustic guitars have what's called a capo, so you just move this little stick basically up and down the neck, and it changes the key for you. So you don't even have to be able to play, like, if you learn 4 chords, you can just move the little stick and play those. You can now play all the chords by using the same hand position.
Oh, man, we are getting the dirt here on
so
people.
many cheats.
Man, I tell you, you've all been found out right now, all right? The next time some guy pulls out a guitar at a party and plays Wonderwall, know he's a fraud.
So you ain't cool.
Total fraud.
So you ain't that cool.
You could do that and give it an hour on YouTube and you can figure it out. I guess we'll get to more of these.
Yes, we will.
Throwing all sorts of shade.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030. Mike Golic here. You know, ADT, the #1 security company, can now help keep you safe at home and when you're on the go. Get started with the ADT Starter Kit professionally installed for only $49. Plus, you'll get ADT Go, the new family mobile safety app and service with 24/7 emergency response for free with any ADT security system. Go to ADT.com/podcast to learn more today.
Requires 36-month monitoring contract, QSP and Easy Pay. Activation and early termination fees may apply. Certain markets excluded. Licenses available at ADT.com. Additional charge for ADT Go premium services after March 31st, 2018.
Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. And we're going to head straight to the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line where North Carolina head coach Roy Williams joins us. Get the feeling of being rewarded with gold status at Shell with the Fuel Rewards program. Download the Fuel Rewards app, join, and start saving 5 cents a gallon today. Coach, thanks for taking the time to join us this morning. We appreciate it.
Well, I hope you guys are doing well. When you said gold status, I thought you guys were giving me something there. I thought, wait a minute, I didn't do anything.
Well, Coach, I'm pretty sure you've done enough to get gold status wherever you'd like. You guys obviously have a key game coming up against Duke. You play Duke in the final game of the ACC conference season in a matchup that has so many ebbs and flows. How important is it to get a win at home in the first of this 2-game series?
Well, it just doesn't put as much pressure on you at the end if you get one early, but you know, it's been a wonderful series. I've been very flattered to be part of it, happy to be part of it, but I think they've gotten the best of us a little bit recently. We did win a national championship, so hopefully that means something, but it's been in the past great games that go right down to the wire. We've been struggling a little more this year than we have. We lost a bunch of guys with the championship team last year, but getting a win at home is something that's extremely important to our team and extremely important to our fans, too.
You talked about the struggles a bit this year. You lost 3 in a row and then got the win against Pittsburgh, so lost 3 of the last 4. Where is this team in your eyes?
You know, Michael, we're really not as good defensively as we need to be as you go down the stretch of the season. I've had a couple of teams that I kept stressing that to, and they'd sort of look at me and grin and say, Coach, we'll outscore them kind of thing. But then they themselves got a lot better, and we need to continue doing it. We got all of our big guys are freshmen. We don't defend around the rim as much as we want to and need to. And then the other thing we haven't been doing a great job of is defending the three-point shot. We've given up one of the highest percentages of any team in the country. So we got to do a better job in both those against Duke because they do shoot the 3 shot very, very well, and they're big guys. They are really something offensively. So those are the 2 biggest areas of concern for us.
North Carolina head coach Roy Williams joining us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Coach, you guys are about to play 3 conference games in 5 days. What kind of challenge does that present you?
Well, we're the only team in the league that's having to do that, so as it gets closer and closer, it gets even more challenging, particularly when you talk about the teams we're playing, because we got Duke at home, and then Saturday we're at State, and they've already beaten us, and then we have Notre Dame here on Monday night, and that was probably the luckiest game I've ever coached because they had 2 shots at point-blank range, and it bounced all around the rim before it fell off. But those are 3 really good opponents. Notre Dame's had some unbelievable injuries, but as I say, State's already beaten us, and Duke is Duke.
Yeah, I remember those shots from Notre Dame.
I know you did. I didn't bring that up just because of you, I promise.
I appreciate that. You got a guy in Luke May shooting 49% from a three that's, you could be on pace to be the first major conference player to shoot above 45%. For a guy like that, I mean, is in a player like that, and you've had obviously great ones in the past, is that just a constant green light, shoot from wherever you want, or are there even limitations to that?
Well, my limitations with Luke are you have your feet set and make sure you got a good grip on the ball, because he does shoot it pretty well. And he, most of the time, has great selection of his shots as well. But he's just a kid who's put in so much time, effort, and sweat on the court and in the weight room that just extremely happy for him. And needless to say, he's very, very important to us. But most of the time, he really does a good job of choosing which one to shoot.
Coach, Luke, Joel Berry, and Kenny Williams all averaging over 30 points or 30 minutes a game right now. With this stretch you have, do you have to manage those minutes a little bit?
I think we will have to. I mean, you're talking 3 games in 5 days, high-quality games, hopefully, and high-quality opponents for sure. But we're trying to get Seventh Woods back, and that'll give us a little bit more to give Joel Berry a little bit of time. And at the same time, I made the commitment a couple of games ago that I've got to get my big young guys back in there. So hopefully we'll reduce a few of those minutes. But they're our best players, and other guys play their guys 40 minutes. I've just always thought that was hard to do. So we'll try to get them a few more breathers.
Coach, try and break up the season for us. In college football, you get that one loss, depending on you get it, that can be your season, and you're on the clock. You can't get another one. In basketball, certainly a little different, where you start the season and how you break up a season. How does a basketball coach break up a season, and where you are now with just a little over a handful game left in the regular season?
Well, we go the pre-conference season. That's one to get us ready for conference play. And then we talk about conference play needs to get us ready for hopefully NCAA play. And as you go down the stretch here, you get into position. You're always hoping somebody else does something to help you. But most of the time, you're in control, just like Virginia is really in control in our league for the regular season title right now. They do what they're supposed to do. It doesn't make any difference for the rest of us. But we try to break it down to get to those last 3 or 4 weeks to be in a position that we control our own destiny, and then you take a breath and for about 30 seconds, and hopefully you're one of those teams on Selection Sunday that get a chance to continue. And then the old Jimmy Valvano way of survive and advance is extremely important. But we break it up into 2-game segments. We're going here to play a tournament. If we play 2 games very well, perhaps they'll let us stay around and play another 2-game tournament. But we've had some great runs. Doesn't mean any difference right now because you got to do it this year.
We're talking to North Carolina head coach Roy Williams on Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio. Coach, obviously you guys have Duke, North Carolina tomorrow night, ESPN, 8 p.m. Eastern. You've been watching Marvin Bagley III. What stood out to you watching his performance so far?
Well, he's so skilled offensively. It's the first thing. With that size, he can step out and shoot the three-point shot, and does shoot them and does make some of them. And then the other thing, around the rim, everything is a dunk, anything inside 4 feet. He's not one of those guys that lays it up softly off the glass. Anything within 4 or 5 feet, he just dunks it. But it's going to be a challenge for our freshmen, big guys who have trouble guarding me in our pregame drill. So it'll be a challenge for them. But he can run the floor. He can pass. He truly is a very gifted player. And Wendell is pretty doggone good, too, the other big guy they have. So they have some weapons inside that are going to be difficult for us.
With all the matchups against Coach K that you have, outside of the players changing, which we see all the time, is there anything from an X's and O's standpoint that surprises you anymore? Is that even a question, or is it just basically the players that are coming through?
I'd like to give you some coaching genius, but basically the bottom line is it's the players, and they're not going to do too many things to surprise us, and my guess is we're not going to do too many things that will surprise them. We have competed against each other for quite a while, even several times when I was at Kansas, and so what it is their players are very unselfish. They used to shoot a lot more three-point shots than we did, and we were the team that relied on the inside play, and this year they're relying more on the inside play, and we're shooting more threes, and it's a shock to me because I never thought I would say that.
Coach, I was giving you the opening there to say it's all you, all the coaches, not the players. I was trying to give you a shot there.
I'm afraid somebody might believe it. If we lose, they'll fire me.
Speaking of players, Coach, it's National Signing Day today in football, obviously. When you see in your world that Duke signed the number 1, 2, 3, and 10 players in next year's class, kind of what goes through your mind in that process?
What's going through my mind today is that we've got a couple of guys that are going to have announcements this morning for our football program. So we need a couple of guys out there that are going to make decisions to today. But no, they're going to get good players, and hopefully we're going to get some good players also. But that's pretty impressive what they've done with this class.
It's fantastic stuff. Hey, Coach, good luck for the rest of the season. We appreciate you giving us the time this morning.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
You guys be good, and cheer for the Tar Heels about 11 o'clock on football signing day today.
There you go.
Perfect.
There you go.
Duke and North Carolina tomorrow night, ESPN and the ESPN app at 8 p.m. Eastern. This is the interesting stat. In the last 100 meetings, 50 wins for North Carolina, 50 wins for Duke, separated by just 2 points in favor of Duke.
It really is incredible, when you think about it, that many games and just separated by that much. And as we were alluding to a little bit there, it's National Signing Day in football today. So we'll see that go on. But remember, they had the early signing day. Really 3/4 of a lot of the top recruits are already signed. There was that 3-day period in December. So all the teams kind of finishing out their classes. As far as basketball, he mentioned them. It's Virginia. Virginia 22-1 overall, 11-0 in the conference. They control everything going on. Next closest is 3 lost teams in the conferences, Clemson and Duke, both 8-3 and 7-3 respectively. As he mentioned, as Coach did, North Carolina sitting at 6-5 in the conference, 17-7 overall. Not having that kind of year, lost some of the players from the team last year, but man, it doesn't get much better than North Carolina Duke. Come on.
Winning at sports and at sports broadcasting means changing things up.
Just like La Quinta Inns and Suites is changing up their look.
A renovated lobby that's so contemporary it even makes Golic look cool.
Yes, it does. And a totally updated fitness center that even has Wingo feeling like a workout.
I'm ripped. Plus plenty of comfortable spaces to hang out.
Yep, this La Quinta look definitely has a vibe of victory.
So you can just relax, refresh, and get ready for your next big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com.
One of the fun stories that has come out of Philadelphia post-Super Bowl, it's a time of celebration.
Yes, it is.
It's a time of great joy.
Yes, it is.
And it looks like Carson Wentz decided to get in a little bit on that celebration by popping the question to his now fiancee, Madison Oberg. So he goes out and right after the Super Bowl gets engaged. My question to you, good sir, do you still do that if you lose the Super Bowl? Like, did the Super Bowl have to go the right way for you to be like, you know what, the magic's here?
I gotta believe so. I mean, it didn't happen on the field or anything like that. So it wasn't if they would have lost, he didn't get engaged on the field. He's on the roof of something. It looks like. I see pictures on his Twitter feed. I have to believe so. I have to believe you had the ring and you were ready to go, win or lose. I mean, you would really hate to base the rest of your life experience on whether you won or lost that game. Because you'd hate for that to get out if he didn't get engaged there and got engaged like a year later and then over time said, oh, you know what, I would have got engaged after the Super Bowl had we won that in case we lost. I think you would have lost some brownie points there.
So Sonny's my beautiful, amazing wife. She's not awake yet, so we can have story time about Sonny.
There you
go. We'll see how this goes. I had bought the ring and planned to pop the question on Halloween because she is such a massive Halloween fan, right. and we do the big Halloween thing.
Yes, you guys do.
And so I had it all ready, and we had a house party, like 100 people in the house. Everybody's just raging, one of those Halloween parties. So I've got it all planned perfectly, and I go up about halfway through the party. I'm like, I'm going to grab the ring. My wife had maybe had a little bit too much. She'd passed out. She was passed out. She was done.
Okay.
So no popping the question at Halloween.
That would make it difficult.
And forever ruin my ability to pop the question at Halloween. So that's why I wondered, like, sometimes you have this great idea, but the things still have to sort of lay out. However,
they do.
if you've got a castle, because it kind of looks like the top of it. We're going to go with the castle.
It does, doesn't it?
So if you're going to go with the castle and you're going to have candles everywhere, like, I don't think you can work that out in 24 hours. So I think it was set either way. I think it was set either way, and he was going to pop the question, which then raises the question for Eagles fans: is there any video of how effective he was getting down on one knee and getting back up?
Yeah.
We all want to see how the knee is in recovery.
All we see is a picture of him already down on the knee, the left knee up, and down on the right knee, and it looks pretty good. If you just looked at that picture and had no idea he had a bad knee, you wouldn't think he had a bad knee.
Kneeling form, quite good. Although you can see in some of the zoom ups that he is wearing
a brace,
a nice brace on with his khakis.
And then she jumped into his arms, so he was all on the knee. I mean, that's tough call. Happy moment.
If they had been live streaming that, Eagles fans everywhere would have said no until he caught her, and then been like, no, that's totally.
So he's good.
That's
so it
fantastic.
all worked out for him for the rest of his life there, which is a good thing. We have a good story about Nick Foles. and that play where he caught the touchdown pass as well. But also coming up in about 5-10 minutes is Stu Gotts, and for whatever reason, we're being told that he left a message for us.
We've got a little Stu mail, so we're going to go here and see what happens.
Hey, Golic and Fitz, Stu on a mobile phone. First time, long time. Great show, guys. Enjoy it. I've been listening forever. Listen, Golic, quick question for you. What is going on here? On national TV, I ate a piece of paper, a picture of your family. I ate that picture, printed out on a piece of paper. I did it to become a member of the Golic family. I go on social media for Super Bowl Sunday, and the Golics are having a Super Bowl party. Yet one Golic is not invited. I believe I saw Sid there. I believe Jake was there. I know Junior was there. I know Mom was there. I certainly know you were there. Stu Golic wasn't there. But you know who was? Jason Fitz. What is it about Fitz? What is it? Is it the hair? It's the fiddle. That's it. Golic, that's my question for you. It's the fiddle.
Well,
yes or no?
Well,
I'll hang up and listen.
Okay. Thanks, Stu. He did. He ate a color picture off the printer. The printer paper was still wet.
Oh, nice.
And he ate it. It was kind of nasty. Quite honestly, he said that to be part of the family. I just wanted to see him eat it because I didn't think he'd be dumb enough to really eat it. And he did.
I mean, eating the picture feels a little like the guy that's trying too hard to land the dream girl. I mean, you just got to be able to sort of put at arm's length and have a little swagger. Like, I'm the king of swagger, obviously.
And Stu, Jason has a skill set with the fiddle, trained at Juilliard since 10 years old. What's your skill set?
It's a fair question.
What are you bringing to the table?
We'll ask him next. Coming up, Stu Gotts from the Dan Le Batard Show joins us, plus more on Josh McDaniels backing out of the Colts job. Golic and Wingo.
I'm a robot vacuum cleaner, so yeah, I got one gig. I suck up dirt, so pardon my inferiority complex about Geico, who does so much more. Like, not only could they save their customers money on car insurance, but they got fast and friendly claim service too, and an award-winning mobile app. Plus access to licensed agents 24/7. Who am I kidding?